because I know the Tielemans goal, that was definitely caused by Harry Maguire's mistake. I mean, gets overpowered by him, and then Tielemans pass off to Tielemans, and it wasn't Tielemans. I think it was Townsend. Wait, let's restart.
That's going in the compilation. That's going in the compilation. Welcome to Secure the Bag. My name is Jackson, and I'm joined by Matt.
How's it going? Just me today.
It's crazy. Yeah, I know.
Crazy. I don't recognize you. After Jackson said his name, I wouldn't have recognized him. I was just sitting in the call with some random guy. Yeah, must have got a slick haircut and a shave. Jeez.
It's been a transformation for me. You know, lockdown's done. You know, regular life must go on.
That's it.
And unfortunately, you can see that there's only two of us today. Unfortunately, we had to take a little hiatus with me and Matt busy with uni. Anthony's moving houses. It's all a bit of a complex situation, and Anthony is unable to join us today, but we'll be able to shit talk his team in the meantime, whether or not he's here. Don't worry about that. There's good chat to come.
Look, football never sleeps, so look, we're going to get straight into it. No hesitation, straight into the Man United Liverpool game.
Yep.
5-0.
Let's catch up. Let's
Jackson,
get this done.
You want to kick it off, mate?
Oh, yeah, sure. I can kick it off. I can kick it off this time. I'll do that. That's fine.
Go for it.
So me, Matt, and another mate of ours watched this live. We stayed up till 2:30 a.m. in the morning to watch this match. It felt like it was the game to watch. Anthony had predicted it as a 0-0. We felt there could be something in this game that made it quite special, and it was.
Boy, did it. It made my night. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jackson, but I mean, Chelsea won 7-0 before that, which we'll touch on a bit later, and then Man United losing. It made my night. But Jackson, please continue.
So it was clear from the first few minutes of that game that Liverpool were playing the best strategy. Like they had their tactics down pat, and Manchester United didn't have a play to deal with it. There were a couple individual moments from Manchester United players, but at the end of the day, Liverpool as a team just rolled over Manchester United like nothing you would have ever foreseen. Of course, some of the scores were a result of individual errors. Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw in particular looked shocking for Manchester United. Definitely responsible for at least 2 or 3 of the goals. Although take nothing away from Liverpool, they showed once again why Rice and McTominay are not an appropriate option in the midfield. They ran straight through them, isolated Ronaldo. It was brilliant.
Did you say Rice and McTominay?
No, I did not.
Did you?
No.
Oh, sorry. The internet must have cut out. My internet must have cut out when I was listening. Sorry.
Matt's looking for me to make a mistake. Yeah. We won't discuss why.
Look. I think that game was great for Liverpool. I saw Naby Keita play probably one of the greatest games I've seen him play in the league so far. Bagging a good goal run to start the game off, and had a very solid performance. As well as that, one of the more notable moments of that game, other than fans leaving at halftime and views of the stadium, fans leaving, fans being disappointed, was the Paul Pogba 10-minute showing. Come on for, I think it was the 55th minute. Played about 10 minutes of the game, and then red carded 10 minutes later for a very poor tackle. Poor tackle. And that's looking like another injury to add to Liverpool's list as well.
And it was a shame at the time having a good game and just forced off by Paul Pogba, who came on, wasn't in his right mind. I think the game was already beyond him at that point. I think the frustration was getting to the players, and it all, like we were saying before even halftime, there's going to be a red card in this game. I think I staked my money on there being a red card, especially after the Ronaldo incident where Ronaldo was kicking Curtis Jones on the ground. Yeah, and got himself a yellow card.
Yeah, look, in my mind, that should have been escalated a bit further than the yellow card, because the first kick, that's fine. Like you said, the first kick, but then you look at the next couple of kicks after that, and you look at his face, like he's not kicking the ball just to kick it out of him. He's kicking the ball out of frustration, because what were they? They were 3-0 down that time. By that time, was it Jackson? I believe.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
already
I think they
3,
were.
potentially even 4.
Yeah, I think they were three nil down by that. And I mean, adding on that, Paul Pogba, when he got his red card in the 60th minute, they were already 5-0 down. So you bring him in while they're 5-0 down, and that just it doesn't help the situation with Pogba either. Like, you got to bring on someone that has a level head, and most of the time, Paul Pogba, from what you've seen, he can have a level head, and then sometimes he can lash out. And yeah, it probably wasn't the best situation to bring Paul Pogba into.
No. But, it's hard to say many players could have kept their heads in that sort of a situation. It was very brutal. And if Liverpool had been willing and able, it was very easy for that game to have ended to like 8-7-0. Although 5-0 is already one of the worst score lines ever seen at Old Trafford in its history. So 8-0 would have been ridiculous, but it was absolutely possible for it to end that way. Crazy, that game.
I was waiting for someone to repeat Andros Townsend a couple of weeks prior to that and zoom into the corner. That would have been top level shithousery.
I bet the Liverpool players were thinking we'll only imitate the celebrations of good players. But the thing is, Ronaldo did get his goal. He had a moment of individual brilliance, ran in behind and scored. He was offside, so it didn't count. But it's a reminder of how when Manchester United are not looking their best, he's the only one who offers anything.
That's it. Well, he's
even in that kind of a game.
He's the only person really keeping Ollie in the job, essentially. Like there's some games that he scored where he scraped them a win, he scraped them a draw, and those games without him in that game, like you look back to last season, Bruno's not going to be doing that for them. Like they're definitely going to be losing those games if Ronaldo's not there. But then you also look at Ronaldo's impact, and you look at their young player development as well, and you look how the young players aren't going to benefit with Ronaldo being there. I know I've talked about this a few times already. Like I think it's going to be detrimental to their youth players that Ronaldo's there. Yeah, youth being Greenwood, being Rashford, being Sancho. But look, we just got to see what happens, I guess. And I guess we move to some brighter times for them with a 3-0 win against the Spurs.
Well, that's the thing. After coming off that Liverpool game, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer looked like it was very easily he could have been fired. I think Ole was very certain he'd be fired. I think there were others who thought it was guaranteed. There was a crisis meeting.
Well, I mean, we all thought that Conte was going to take over him straight away. Like after that 5-0, out Sir Alex Ferguson in the stands as well. Like to lose that bad in front of arguably Manchester United's best coach, if not the best manager of Manchester United in their history. Like that's embarrassing. And I'm not shocked that he was expecting that he was going to get fired.
No. But in the end, they said to him, you've got 3 games. You've got Tottenham, Atalanta, and City. Now, everyone thought he wouldn't survive the Spurs game because, it's Spurs, They're a big-ish club, and Manchester United are terrible.
Spurs have their own internal problems with Nuno as well. We have, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast or outside the podcast, but me and Jackson have talked about, Tottenham has shaky defense at best this season. And as well as that, other than you take Harry Kane out, who hasn't really been performing that well this season because his trade didn't go through at the start of the season. You take Heung-min Son out, and their attack is gone. They have no attack. They have no people, no players off the bench to provide some extra attack like some of the other big 6 teams.
And it's not even. It even goes to a high level with Nuno, and where Nuno seemed to fail to get Tottenham to be playing well in possession. He came from a counter-attacking defensive Wolves and couldn't really translate to results with a possession-hungry Tottenham team. With players like Son, Kane, Mora, it was just not a right match. It didn't really make a lot of sense as a match for that team and that manager. It was a failed experiment, and the Manchester United game really sealed it. So I think people went into this game focusing on Manchester United's flaws, but having beaten Spurs 1-0 on the weekend, I knew they were dreadful. Yeah. They were not in a great place, and that's exactly what happened in this game.
People had to equally look at Spurs' flaws as well, because they're two shaky teams, like you just mentioned, in terms of managers. And one of those managers was going to get fired after that game, or if not fired, Ollie would have been very heavily in favour of Ollie sacking if he lost that game against Tottenham. So it could have went either way, and unfortunately, it just went the way of the Spurs, and now they've signed Conte as their new manager.
But it's worth noting that, having said what I said before, Manchester United would love coming up against a Spurs that was poor in possession, that took possession but didn't know what to do with it because of Nuno. Because counter-attacking football is Ollie's game plan. It's plan one, and when it works, it works. Beating them 3-0, very convincing, sacked Nuno. But as you mentioned, we're actually in a bit of a strange situation where it could have very well been the opposite. It could have been Ollie sacked and Conte taking over Manchester United. It could have been a completely different situation. Exactly. But this game had the fate of two managers in the palm of its hands. Nuno and Ollie were riding on this game to come out well, and Nuno just wasn't up for the races. His Tottenham side have been pretty tragic. And people have maybe got a little carried away with the Manchester United stuff, but they're not as bad as Tottenham, and this game really proved it. And now, though, that's another manager less they'll have to choose from when they do eventually fire Ollie, because the Atalanta result wasn't good enough. And I don't think the Man City result will be good.
And Conte was probably one of the top managers, not in terms of preference for them, but in terms of his resume and how good of a manager he is. So now they're going to have to lose a bit more quality if they're going to look for another manager as well.
Exactly.
So I don't know who's in there. I don't know who's in their sights for a new manager. I know there's a few guys that are looking for jobs, and we mentioned a few of those guys, or Jackson mentioned a few of those guys in the Newcastle great debate. I think it was like Eddie Howe, a couple other guys, Zidane, Graham Potter, a few of those lads. But you even look at those guys, and they're a step down to Conte for sure.
Zidane, I don't rate Zidane as a manager. I think Conte's a better manager than, but Zidane is like that kind of manager where I'm good if you give me the best players in the world.
Yeah.
And at that point, are you even a good manager?
No,
most managers could probably do something with the best players in the world.
You're not a good manager. You're a former player who's been put in a managerial role. If you can do that, I mean, you give our podcast the best players in the world, and we could win the bloody Champions League.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Come on.
But Zidane would be good for Manchester United though, because there are superstars there. Ronaldo and Pogba would shine under Zidane. That doesn't make him a great manager. It just means that he can get the best out of that kind of player. You just have to have that kind of player to get it out of him. I still think Zidane's a good choice for them, even if they can't get Conte now.
Yeah. But then after that, it just begs the question of how the team dynamic is going to go around those two players if Zidane's there and really pushes them forward. But
the hope would be that if other superstars rise, they won't have to rely so much on Ronaldo like they did against Atalanta, because they could have easily lost that game 2-1 and it would have been a shock. But Ronaldo, with a brace, managed to secure Ollie's fate until tonight.
Yeah. So, and I mean, that just goes back to what I said as well. Ronaldo is really the person holding Ollie in the job at the moment. If Ronaldo wasn't there, Ollie's job's gone. Ollie's job was gone weeks ago, man.
It's worth mentioning that, when times do get tough, Ollie succeeds in dragging something out of this team and getting them on good terms again. There's been a lot of times when we think Ollie's going to get sacked and he just turns it around and they go on a run. They could beat Manchester City tonight and go back on a run. It's entirely possible, which is why the harsher predictions. If he loses this game, he should be sacked, but I do see them potentially winning this game. But we will leave that for later. We do have a section on the Manchester derby that we will get into.
That's it.
So unfortunately, that leaves Manchester United's woes. It's not been so great for them, but their loss has been Chelsea's gain, hasn't it, Matt?
Yes, it has. Let's just jump straight into it. 7-0 against Norwich. No strikers. Had to play Kai Havertz in striker and brought Mason Mount's talent out for this game. I know it was only Norwich, probably bottom three, but still, no striker. Managed to put 7 past Norwich. Mason Mount with a brace. Oh, no brace, sorry, a hat-trick. And yeah, just a good performance from the guys, showing that we can score other ways besides using strikers. I mean, you look at who scored. We scored. Mason Mount had the 3, obviously. Hudson-Odoi, Reece James, Ben Chilwell, and then there was a Max Aaron's own goal. I mean, 2 out of the 4 Chelsea players that have scored were defenders.
It is Norwich, though. Let's remember.
Look, that's what I said. It is Norwich, but we're able to show that we can score in other ways just besides our strikers.
It's interesting you say that, though, because remember when we were discussing the Tottenham game, when Chelsea beat Tottenham 3-0 a while ago?
Yeah.
Anthony said, defenders are on the score sheet. It must have been a lucky win.
No.
But we're going to talk about a couple games here where, like, just in this podcast, where Chelsea defenders were the ones scoring the goals.
That's it.
It's not like they do it consistently. Other players do get on the score sheet quite consistently.
Exactly. And, I mean, you look at that Norwich game, and even you look to the extent of the Newcastle game the next week as well. Reece James scored in both of those games. He scored once in the Norwich game, and I'm pretty sure he scored twice in the Newcastle game. That just goes to show, I think now he's a top scorer in Chelsea's club for this season, and he's a right wing back. And I think Ben Chilwell's not that far behind him either, and he's the left wing back. I mean, the way that Chelsea plays with the Tuchel ball, it gives more opportunities for our defenders to attack, to score. And I mean, we did show that, we don't have a striker. Some players can step up, like Mason Mount, Callum Hudson-Odoi, which Tuchel has a lot of trust in Callum Hudson-Odoi, and wants. I believe he's going to play him a bit more now. He believes in him, so we'll get to see a bit more of Hudson-Odoi as the season progresses. But the way he plays his defenders is just. It's something Chelsea haven't seen before. Chelsea's defenders scoring in this amount of volume early in the season, and knock on wood that continues on for Chelsea, because we've got young stars like Reece James who are breaking through now and scoring like this. Like he's looking like he's one of the most well-rounded right backs in the league.
It should be noted, though, that I think that like the ability to bring the defenders in consistently on the score sheet will work wonders in the Premier League, where it's about being able to grind down teams every week, and they'll be wonderful for that. I don't know if it'll give you success in the Champions League, just because I think when you come up against the big boys, defenders aren't going to score the goals as much. Like, they can't do it against the big teams consistently. You do need firepower up front to beat a team that's more defensively solid, better at set pieces. But hopefully by then, Lukaku will be back to firing, at least for the sake of my FPL team. I need him to kick back into gear.
Let's not talk about FPL teams and our woes. I mean, I literally took Mason Mount off my team and put him in the bench before that Norwich game. And
they're not the best decision, that one. That did turn out poorly, yeah.
No, it wasn't.
The question is, we turn now to the Newcastle game, which we saw against Norwich that, I felt the Norwich game was less about Chelsea being good, more about Norwich being the worst.
Yeah.
But the Newcastle game, on the other hand, I think Newcastle approached this game with a defensive mindset. They were there to get something out of the game, and Chelsea broke them down and won by 3 goals. Not bad by any extent. I think that impressed me more than the Norwich game, just because I know how bad Norwich are.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree as well. I mean, the Norwich game, like, I know there's a big scoreline, but yeah, like I said before, they're bottom 3, so it was really just a chance to show that we can score in more ways than just our striker. That's really what that score signified. But yeah, the Newcastle game, I remember looking at the scores, and it was 0-0 at halftime, I believe. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, like this could be, a lucky Newcastle goal could seal them the game late in the game, like if Chelsea doesn't pick up, because I couldn't watch it at the time. And yeah, I remember Reece James hitting a sweet goal, and I was like, oh fuck, we're in this now. We're in this. And then Reece James scored again, and I was like, yeah, that's where we're done. Like we've got it. But yeah, the way they managed to hold off Newcastle's attacks as well, which was was something of class that Chelsea's been shown over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Reece James sort of, found his way out of the squad for a little while. Devastating for my FPL team again, but he came back. He's come back with a vengeance. He's been very active attacking, and I think personally, Anthony will be, shaken in his boots at this. But I think I'd take Reece James over Wan-Bissaka these days. I think he's a better fullback than Wan-Bissaka is. I rate him very highly now. He's been incredible the last few games.
Well,
Great stuff.
Like I mentioned before, I reckon he's the most well-rounded right back in the league. So I'd take him over Wan-Bissaka. I'd take him over Alexander-Arnold any day.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. I still like Trent better, but Reece James is up there now for me. He's very much up there. He's in the argument.
I mean, Trent's been in Liverpool's respective first team longer than Reece has been in Chelsea's first team. So I mean, you give him that time that
we'll see.
The same as Trent has, and
we'll see whether he can continue. That's fair enough. And speaking of another game where the defenders sort of came in to do the work, Champions League action, Matt. Chelsea won, Malmo 0. Pretty poor game. I noticed that this isn't even the first time you've had to win 1-0 in the group stage. You had to beat Zenit St. Petersburg 1-0 as well.
Yeah, look, a win's a win. Win's a win for us. That's pretty much all it breaks down to. Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, winning's winning. But yeah, that lone goal come from Hakim Ziyech, and it was good for him to get on the score sheet, see him firing again once now that he's brought back into the benches and into the lineup. So it's good to see him do that. I watched the highlights for that game because I don't have Stan Sport, unfortunately, and he had a lot of good chances at goal, and by watching the highlights, you knew a goal was going to come by Ziyech. I mean, he was hungry to get that goal, and he was pressing, attacking the whole time, and he had a lot of good chances. And yeah, like I said, it was only a matter of time for him to score, and he managed to put one past them. And then we just played some solid defense to keep their score a clean sheet. So.
No, fair enough. And, these wins are important because, I mean, at this point, there's no doubt Chelsea are going to qualify in my mind for the next round, especially, from the beginning, it was only ever Juventus and Chelsea in the race. But the question emerges, this win was critical, and the next game when you play Juve will be critical as well. Because if you don't, you want to get first place in the group.
Exactly.
It's very critical because the kind of teams you can run into, it's the difference between running into Porto and Man City.
Yeah, that's it.
And, this is why Man City usually do all right until they face a good team, because usually they top their group, face an easy team in the round of 16, and then get trumped by someone in the next round or two.
Bayern Munich.
The thing is, and here's the thing. If you want to really have a run into it, you don't want to run into a Bayern Munich or a Liverpool, who are two teams that look really good in the competition.
Yeah, that's it. Or a Young Boys if they qualify.
Young Boys.
That's for Anthony.
Only if you're Manchester United, though. That would be terrifying. The Manchester United, here's the thing. I feel like Manchester United could be very interesting because if they don't top their group, I feel like they're good opposition to face. If you top your group, I think you want to face Manchester United compared to some other teams you could get. But that'll be a very interesting one. I mean, if you're like Bayern, you might want to face Manchester United over Chelsea, probably right now in the round of 16. That's probably going to be the way to go. So I can see that absolutely having an impact.
And by the round of 16, I believe at least Lukaku or Werner will be back. I don't know, both of them will be back because I from when their injuries occurred, they said about a month for them to come back. So by the round of 16, definitely we should have one, if not both of them back.
Yeah, you should have both of them back by then. Yeah.
And Christian Pulisic is back now as well. I mean, he played in that Champions League game for Malmo and missed a pretty easy goal that he should have scored, but he's been out for quite a while, so it's just going to take him that time to find that form again.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads us now to wonder, whether we can really see if we will see Chelsea, cross the line and sort of put together the defense, which I think will win them the league. But then Tuchel's going to really have to change his style on his attack, because I think I can see right now it's so early in the season. This should not be the time that your attack dries up. That'll come when, players get a little more tired later on as the season goes, about February. It's way too early to have the attack begin to dry up like this, even with injuries.
Although we could see something in reverse, that the attack dries up early but starts to fire towards the end of the season. And that could be something that plays in our favor as well.
And we'll have to see how that goes. Yeah. Let me ask you this then, Matt. If you get second, thinking about the groups that are right now topping each group, Juventus, Bayern Munich, Man City. Think about these teams and think about the other ones that are topping their groups.
Let me have a look.
Take a look. Looking at all the teams that are topping their groups in the Champions League right now, let's say you do finish second, which would you take?
Well, they've got, first of all, Group A is City, Group B is Liverpool, Group C is Ajax, D is Madrid, E is Bayern, F's Man United, G is RB Salzburg, and H is Juventus. So out of all those teams, I'd probably either take Salzburg or Ajax.
I'd almost say Salzburg. Ajax can do stuff. Like, they've shown they can cause upsets in this competition. Salzburg don't scare, or they shouldn't scare.
I agree. It'd have to be one of the two for me if it had to be one of them. So I wouldn't really mind who we would take, but definitely Salzburg looks like the better option to go through with a pretty easy run.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That wraps up Chelsea, who in the end have had a pretty good week. They're a couple, 3 points on top of the table.
Yeah, that's
second
correct.
in their group in the Champions League.
Yeah, 3 points clear. We have a 2 point increase in goal difference over Liverpool. We're currently at 23 goal difference, and we're at 25 points on the season.
Conceded like 3 goals this season.
We've scored 26 and we've conceded 3.
Can we remember? What were the 3 goals that they conceded?
One was Liverpool when we drew against them. One was Man City when we lost 1-0 off that bloody
Gabby Jesus.
Yeah, the fucking shit deflection. Sorry for my language for all the people that are watching. And I believe the third goal, off the top of my head, I'm going to have to think who we played. It wasn't Brentford. No, it was Southampton. James Ward-Prowse's penalty against Southampton. That's what it was.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Easy enough. There you go. 3. And great season. But you know who's having a great season as well, Matt? You know who,
Crystal
against
Palace?
all expectations, are having a great season this year?
Brentford.
Say it. Go on.
You're blowing Mill.
No, that's an unacceptable answer, Matt. Go on.
A team that's blowing bubbles.
No.
The second best team in London, because London's currently blue and will remain blue forever.
Claret and blue soon. Don't you worry about that. So Matt is referring to West Ham's sensational few last weeks, which I didn't even get to cover on this channel because I've been in hiatus. It's been crazy.
I know. What a shame.
We covered the Everton game, which I'll just remind everyone, nobody had faith in West Ham. I didn't even have faith in it. I think I absolutely thought that could have been a losable result, but we beat Everton 1-0. And then we got into these 2 weeks. Tottenham was a stressful game. I watched this game live with Matt. It was not fun to watch. We were not so good, but they were worse. What kept happening, Matt, is that we couldn't put 2 passes together inside the final third. It was almost like what would happen every single time is that a West Ham player would get in the final third, he'd take a moment on the ball, look up, and then shoot.
And that was especially prevalent. Sorry to interrupt you. Especially prevalent with Ben Rama. Ben Rama, and to an extent Bowen as well. So you're attacking wings, attacking midfielders, attacking wings there. That was very prevalent, I noticed, with them. And, that one extra pass to Antonio, that one extra pass to Rice, to possibly Souček for a long-range shot, that could be the difference between finishing 1-0 and finishing 3-0.
It was like, every single chance just needed one more pass, and the pass never came. Everyone was a little too greedy, couldn't really put a move together inside the final third. It was disappointing. But when the goal came, it was glorious. Once again, from a lucky corner.
If this is the goal I'm thinking of, the Antonio tap-in from the corner.
Well, it was just, corners. We've won another game off corners. It was a great goal.
Yeah,
it
take
was
that, Anthony. Take that, Anthony.
It's exactly like the other time we beat Spurs. We were the first team to beat Spurs in their new stadium. An Antonio goal again.
Oh, really?
1-0 win. Yeah.
Wow.
He's incredible. And from what I've heard, he wasn't even supposed to score in that position. So he'd been told by the manager, all you're meant to do is block Harry Kane, and the ball just happened to be there. So he's like, "Oh, I'll put that away. I'll tap that in." It was great, and it was squeaky butt time for like 20 minutes after that goal because Tottenham were all over us. We had to defend, but in the end, we managed to squeak away with a 1-0 win, which I think was deserved.
Yeah, I mean, you spent all the game watching Dembele fall on the floor and complain about the softest touches I've ever seen in my life. So
that was despicable. That was terrible.
It was a hard game.
How's Dembele going to pull that stunt? That's unacceptable.
Mate, he goes down at least 3 times a game. At least 3 times a game.
I'm not going to forget that. He's in my bad books now after that performance. But we were already 4th after beating Tottenham. So we had 17 points and we were already in 4th place by that point.
And you haven't moved anywhere since.
Yeah, but we're now joint with Man City because we won our next game. And very, very, heavily. A 4-0 win at Villa Park is nothing to toss aside. It's an incredibly massive win. That was insane.
I mean, Villa's been on a 5-game losing streak. just going to put that out there.
But it's the extent to which we dominated them. It was like they weren't even in the game. Ben Johnson scored the first goal, a drill from outside the box. Rice scored a goal from outside the box.
Bowen scored.
And
Lanzini, wasn't it? Was it?
No, I don't think so. No, I think it was the Ben Johnson goal, the Rice goal, both in the second half, then Fornals, then Bowen. It was a Lanzini assist on the Bowen goal.
Yeah.
So what emerged,
and Ollie Watkins scoring for Aston Villa.
Yeah,
I mean,
who cares?
No, you got just to touch on Aston Villa quickly. Ollie Watkins needs to get out of Villa. He needs to get out of Villa. He's a young, promising striker that needs it. Look, Villa's they're either going to make some big changes to their team, or they're going to get him out because he's not going to improve with them losing the last 5 games.
The real problem for Villa was, and this links to the red card they got in this game as well, discipline. They have none. There were, even if you watch the highlights, just the highlights of the game, you will see 3 tackles that could be potential reds. So the red card that happened in that game against Consa, the pass right before that foul, there's a tackle on Fornals before he passes through to Bowen, where Fornals is elbowed in the face and taken down. That's when the ref was going over to the monitor, people thought that was the tackle he was going to give a red card for because it was bad. So I think that was Courtney House. So Courtney House,
it was
Conser, and then on the last goal. So the last goal with Bowen.
Yeah.
In the lead up to that, Antonio is thrown down, knocked over. That itself is dodgy as all hell.
I remember
that could even be a red. 3 reds there. And it all comes from the manager in my eyes. When you're on this kind of losing streak, it's up to the manager to rein the players in and keep their heads together. And there was none of that on the pitch.
Well, I mean, that just comes with frustration of losing your last 5 games.
But a better manager would control that better because if you let it go, you'll keep losing. the losing streak continues.
Exactly. I mean, you contrast that to someone like Brighton, who's been having a cracking season. I mean, 2-2 draw against Liverpool in the last week. Like they're looking to stay in that top 8 position, those top 8 teams. So they're doing well. We're keep an eye on Brighton.
We do.
Definitely.
Brighton really came in clutch against Liverpool, considering they were 2-0 down early on. And I think, though, I've said in the past, and I'll say it again, they had an easier run of games than most. Like, they got up to like 4th, and at that point it was ridiculous. Like, they'd had an easy fixture list. You're going to see them float back down to the table to about maybe mid-table, even lower than that potentially. More where they deserve to be. West Ham, on the other hand, we faced Manchester United. We faced Tottenham. We faced some decent sides already. We're about to play Liverpool. We've got Man City coming up. We versed Everton already. We versed all 3 of the supposed the contenders for Europe that would compete with us. Actually, all 4 of them. Leicester, Chelsea, Everton, Aston Villa, and Leeds, who for me were the Europa League contenders. If anyone was going to, like, if Tottenham and Arsenal were going to be bad, it would be those 4. And we've beaten them all, beaten all 4 of them. So, I mean, we'll see how that one goes. But I think like 4th, like, I think Moyes came out after the game and actually said, Champions League is the aim. I don't think that's really, I think he's overreaching, because Manchester United are terrible, but not that terrible.
Oh God.
We're in 4th, but
you're in 4th.
We're going to drop down. We'll take a 6th or 5th finish. That's a good way to go. Manchester United will catch on form eventually, whether under Ole or the next manager. They'll take 4th. It'll be Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City, Man United in the top 4, and we'll fight out for the last remaining places in Europe, which right now might only be us, Tottenham, and Arsenal. And if that is it, that's pretty good. Like, you can't wish, like, that's just 3 spots for 3 teams.
That's it.
So it's not a bad situation to be in. But considering that, speaking of like our chances at Europe, we got to talk about our current season at Europe. And West Ham finally dropped points in our group. Took us like 4 games, but we finally managed to drop points.
Mate, I don't want to hear this from you, all right? You're we're unbeaten in Europe. You're unbeaten in Europe.
Well, we are unbeaten in Europe.
You're unbeaten.
We are unbeaten.
You're unbeaten in the Europa League, mate.
Yeah, but we haven't lost a game in Europe.
No. You're not like. There's a difference being unbeaten in the Champions League and unbeaten in the Europa League, right? It's like saying that you're a team in the Premier League and you've done well, but like you've only lost 1 or 2 games this season, compared to someone who's in the English Championship and you haven't lost. Oh, I'm undefeated in England, but you're undefeated in the second tier.
I'm not undefeated in England. We're undefeated in Europe.
Yeah,
That's what you're missing.
You're undefeated in the second tier of Europe.
Wait,
that's what I'm contrasting it to.
I'm sorry. I'm feeling the bitterness. I think you really wanted to win that game against Juve. I feel your pain. And you know what? Tottenham, you can't go at us. Tottenham lost to like a Dutch team in the Europa Conference. What are you talking to us for?
Yeah, but
Tottenham.
Yeah, but Tottenham are like, yeah.
You expect that. They don't go for unbeaten streaks, but West Ham, we go for unbeaten streaks. Probably should have even won this game as well, but it was a Souček own goal in like the 86th, 87th minute that unfortunately meant it would be a draw after 2 Benrahma goals to take us back from 1-0 down. It was a very good game. We probably should have won it, but I respect Genk. Both the games we've had with them have been tough, whereas the other 2 teams haven't really offered up anything, but they've been superb. So I respect them. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to make it to the knockout rounds, even with their performances. I think Zagreb will do it in our group. But right now, just buzzing. It's been a great week. Moyes, people were laughing at him 3 years ago, and now look at him.
I'm still laughing at him, mate. I'm still laughing at him.
Oh, still laughing at him. Oh, you wait till December, mate. Yeah, we'll do a live stream and you can watch Moyes beat your Chelsea team.
Yeah, sure, mate. Sure.
First hand. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. When Reece James puts a couple past you and win the game, we'll see them.
Oh, when Rice wins the game when he could have been at Chelsea, you'll be very sad. You'll be very sad.
One of your defenders is a Chelsea youth prospect, and so is your buddy, and so is your midfielder, mate.
So when Zuma scores against you to win this game for us, is it going to feel bitter?
No, not really.
Oh, no, really? No, it's not going to feel bitter. No. You feel bitter from Arnautovic scoring for us against you. No. You still you took Zabacosta, tied him to a stake and burnt him alive.
Because Zabacosta's trash. Zabacosta's shit.
But that's exactly what I mean.
Zabacosta, Bakayoko, and Danny Drinkwater were some of the worst signings Chelsea's made in the last 7 years.
And look what you did to them after losing to a goal by Arnautovic. If Zuma, who Tuchel said, I don't need Zuma. If Zuma beats you guys, scores the winning goal for us against you guys, you're going to go through that dressing room and just shiv players in the back, for the watch.
Mate, look, I know we're a London-based team, but you don't have to go that far, right? We're not chefing people up in the bloody dressing rooms, man. You know?
Hey, if someone had a shivved Bakayoko, a lot of wages would have been saved. All right,
I would have, but at this point in the season, if we had to choose between keeping Zuma and keeping Tino Livramento, I'm keeping Tino, man. I'm keeping Tino.
Well, I hope you can keep up that mood when it's the 92nd minute and Zuma puts in a goal to win the game 3-2. I really hope you can keep that up.
We'll see. We'll see. When Chelsea wins 4-1, we'll see.
When Chelsea wins 4-1.
When N'Golo Kante scores one of the wildest goals you've ever seen, then we'll see. We'll see.
I find it unlikely. I think we'll beat you guys. We're a Champions League team, top four team. I don't know, Matt, top four, mate.
Mate, look, let's put we're doing a podcast here, right? We're not talking normally. For those who are watching the podcast, this is how we talk normally about our teams, right? This is how me and Jackson stir each other up all the time.
But it's working, isn't it, Matt? You're feeling the pressure. If West Ham become a top four team, you're actually going to freak out.
No,
you'd be like, bring on the European Super League. It's the only way to keep West Ham from getting their way in.
Jackson, I'm going to tell you right now on this podcast that I would rather have West Ham in Champions League than Man United. I'd rather have West Ham in there. So it doesn't bother me one bit at all. I'd rather have West Ham than bloody Liverpool. I hate Liverpool.
Yeah, this is exactly how someone talks when they don't want West Ham in.
Mate, half my family are Liverpool supporters. I fucking hate Liverpool.
I tell Matt, this is how, a non-flustered person talks. You're right, Matt. You are not... scared at all of the prospect of West Ham having an unbeaten record in the Champions League.
Don't try to do this to me, okay? You're trying to make me. You're trying to portray me as someone who's scared. I'm not. All right, I'm not. Don't use
he refuses to be clipped.
Mate, don't use your bloody political experience with me, okay? Don't try and use that stuff on me.
Oh, damn. All right, fair enough. Well, that's the end of West Ham's 2 weeks. It's been a great 2 weeks, and I'm happy to be back on track so I can cover it week in, week out, and expect some more specific West Ham content in the future. Hopefully get to chat about that a bit more with someone who, wants to see West Ham in the top four and who's not going to
oh shit!
Have a panic attack when West Ham finish.
Well, you're not going to have Anthony say it. You're not going to have Anthony say that either. So you're going to have to find someone off the podcast because.
Oh, damn. Well, that leads us to our final topic for this week, which is actually tonight's game. This video might be posted a little late, but we are now about 4 hours from the Manchester derby. The noisy neighbours at it again. Who the noisy neighbours are in this situation is questionable, though, because Manchester United are terrible. The point needs to be made, Matt, is what we feel about this game. I mean, I said before that I could see Manchester United winning this game, but it's not the most likely outcome in my mind.
City win for me. City win.
What score?
Oh, maybe like a 2-1 or a 3-2, something like that. I don't know exactly the score, but City's going to win in my mind.
I could honestly see it being 2-1 to either team.
Yeah, it could be to either team. There's definitely not going to be a clean sheet. David De Gea has been playing bloody terrible, man. terrible. Like he's had 5 put past him in the Man United game. Yeah, he kept a clean sheet against Spurs, but he's had 2 put past him against buddy Atalanta, man.
Mm-hmm.
So
Crazy.
City with I don't know who they're going to be playing up top tonight, but they're definitely going to be playing that weird false 9 position. Jesus, if he's available to play, they're definitely going to play him. I'm not sure if Fernand Torres is playing this week. Is he? Because I remember seeing on FPL he has something on him, like a little caution on there, so he might be sitting out this game for maybe a knock or illness or something.
He could be, yeah. It's questionable. We've got to ask. Yeah,
they have some options of who they can play.
I think I do see Ronaldo scoring in this game. I think he'll be the Manchester United scorer. So I think it'll be 2-1 with a Ronaldo goal for Manchester United. The question though is because of it's a question of whether Manchester United are going to be able to counterattack against Manchester City. And in the past, they have managed to do so. And I mean, I don't know, with this false 9, I almost feel like Manchester City, this false 9 system without this strikerless system is not better than they were when they had Aguero leading the line. It's not a better system. It's just because they couldn't get Harry Kane.
That's it. Well, that's what it comes down to. It's they couldn't get Harry Kane, and now that's affecting the Spurs because Harry Kane doesn't want to play for them. He's trying to force a trade from the Spurs.
But then the point comes up in that this isn't the same Manchester City team. I just feel like there's too much competition for the league. I think they're a worse off team, and I think if they lost this game against Manchester United, I think people would start talking about City going, all right, I can see this now. I can see Chelsea or Liverpool winning this because they lost against Crystal Palace, which dreadful result.
What are you talking about? Palace are great, man. Palace are great. They have one of the legends, Christian Benteke, who does nothing anymore.
Oh, I thought you'd mention, the Chelsea.
Conor Gallagher and Mark Gui, the two Chelsea Academy players on their team.
Connor, I was going to put him in my FPL team, but then I was like, nah, it's Man City. He won't score a goal in that game. And then he scored. So I will things into being. It's crazy. That was a poor performance by Pep. And you know what? I think all respect to Patrick Vieira. I didn't think he'd be good enough for this league. I thought he'd go the way of like Thierry Henry in management, which is bad. But he's proven me wrong. He's having an incredible season. And it's insane.
Well, they're 2 wins, 6 draws, and 2 losses on the season. And their last 4 games, they've won their most recent game and then drew the previous 4 from that. So they're currently sitting at 14th on 12 points. So
which is good stuff.
Good start for Patrick Vieira and Crystal Palace, seeing as they could have been towards the bottom of the table with the newer manager coming in.
I absolutely put all my money on Southampton being one of the teams to go down, and it didn't happen. Yeah, Southampton and Crystal Palace. Like once Patrick Vieira came in, I said, I can see that as well. But both teams have, proven me wrong. Newcastle are looking really, really, ready for the championship.
That newly acquired Muller might not see them through to the Premier League if they can't keep
Ousmane Dembele paid, $400K a week, really looking for that game against Barnsley or that trip to the Den against Millwall. Games.
Ousmane Dembele gets on the score sheet against Luton Town.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. Mate, the Luton Town fans will frame that moment like Ousmane Dembele was here.
Yeah. Their new stadium picture will be Ousmane Dembele and Mpanzu running for a ball together, and it'll just have both of them two side by side. And Mpanzu going for a slide tackle on Dembele. And then it'd be like one of those live boomerangs. And then Dembele would be on the floor holding his leg, and then 2 weeks later he'll still be out.
Not again. Don't worry. There'll be more specific content on the relegation battle soon. That's definitely a topic we want to get into. But yeah, some definitely early thoughts on Crystal Palace and Southampton.
Just some news on tonight's game as well. Kyle Walker came off early during the Champions League win against Club Brugge with a precautionary foot problem. So he could potentially not be playing tonight for Man City.
Which would mean who's replacing him then?
You look at their squads now. Does he mostly play as their centre back or as their right back at the moment? Because
rotates.
So
I'd say right back more.
You've got Cancelo, who is one of in their defensive lineup. You've got Laporte, you've got Stones, Diaz, Ake. Those are pretty much the more notable ones of the team. Maybe Zinchenko.
Cancelo will hold the right, and I mean, in this case, it would be about whether Carl would play as a centre back then. In that, I don't know who you'd replace him with. Laporte's not so great. Stones is interesting. We'll see how they operate. Ake's around as well.
Yeah, you're going to have to pick one of them eventually. I mean, you can't pick their former left back because he's made a trade to Prison FC.
Oh, yeah. Not a great one from him, but you'll work on it. That's before we wrap up then. We've gone over most of what we wanted to and caught up. Matt, who will be the scorers for Manchester City in this game tonight?
The way that Gabby Jesus is performing, I don't see. I do see him scoring tonight. I don't believe it's a far shout for him to score tonight. So I reckon he might score. And it really depends on who they play in their midfield, I reckon, because their midfield is really going to set up that goal. I can see Cancelo assisting someone, but from that, I don't know who it is because like the way that their team is so disposable and the amount of people they can rotate in and out of the squad, I just can't tell who it is.
It's hard to pick in the midfield. Whoever they put in will be better than Fred McTominay. So there we go on that one.
Maybe Gundogan if he plays.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And that wraps us up for today. Thank you for joining us, this little duo on today's podcast.
Let us know if you
next
like
time Anthony will be here. Let us know if we need to put Anthony to the sword. But you'll see him back. He'll be back next episode. And otherwise, enjoy the derby night, lads. We'll see you all later.
Catch you later.
Peace.
London is blue.